Why would I be afraid of the dark? I've never even had trauma, that relates to that. Take action and confront the genuine conflict in your life. And just look at all of Aries in your chart. Courage and will. That's all you need. The psychological leftovers of these original wounds has shaped your spiritual journey. Okay, my friends, you asked for it. You asked for it, and I'm delivering it. Today, we're going to talk all about Chiron. We are going to talk about the wounded healer in your astrology chart. Do you understand the karmic wound that you inherited in this lifetime and also how to heal it? Welcome to Chiron. Today, we're going to talk about Chiron in Aries because it applies to everyone. It is going to really help you understand what parts of your life you need to heal in your world today, and where we are all collectively wounded and what we need to collectively heal. Also, I want you to watch this video in two different ways. One, by transit. Where do you have 19 degrees Aries in your chart? Because that is the part of your chart that is asking you to heal it, because you have 19 degrees Aries somewhere in your chart that is being highlighted in this video today. And two, do you personally have Chiron in Aries? And if you do, that means you're having a Chiron return. So if you were born between 1968 and 1977, Chiron was in Aries. Is that you? Come with me on this magical Chiron journey and let's start the healing process. This is the part of your life that has been deeply wounded. This wound, or this collection of wounds, the psychological leftovers of these original wounds has shaped your life. And therefore, it has also shaped your spiritual journey. Chiron symbolizes that deep place within you. This is probably something that you do not show others easily. This might be a part of you that you're not even that aware of. This might be down in your subconscious, but this part does want to be healed. And we're going to talk about Chiron in Aries today because that's where it's transiting out there in the universe, in our galaxy. It's affecting us collectively. And also, if you have Chiron in Aries, this is your gold mine. This is your video. I want to tell you that you probably experienced Chiron as a wound in your early childhood or your previous lifetimes, or both. And so you might be afraid of things for no good reason. Like, I'm afraid of the dark. Why would I be afraid of the dark? I've never even had trauma, that relates to that. But I have a deep fear of being afraid of the dark. And guess what? My Chiron is in a dark house, the 8th house. And so I like nightlights. Chiron is very subtle in a lot of ways. And in some signs, like if you have it on the ascendant or when it's in Aries, it's a lot louder. But it does create a psychological and an emotional wound. It can be a physical wound too, for sure. It usually creates a feeling of being inadequate, feeling vulnerable, an unusual sense of fear, or a large amount of fear, having a phobia. It can develop inside feeling paranoid, like doomsday paranoid. It can make a person doubt themselves, squash themselves. It can make a person not step into their rightfulness in this lifetime. It can make you feel like you're not seen, you're not heard, stuck, stuffed in a corner, and you're not of worth or value. It's actually quite sad. Can even be moved to tears talking about Chiron because it can manifest in so many painful ways. But it is usually where pain lives inside of your soul, inside of your life, inside of your astrology chart. If you guys want a Chiron video on all 12 signs, let me know in the comments below. It's a big commitment and I can't promise you, but if enough people want it, I promise I will listen. So before we step into Chiron and Aries, I want to tell you how to look at your own Chiron in your own chart and what you need to do. So the very first thing is you have to know what house Chiron falls in your chart. And I want you to study that house because that house is going to have conflict in it. It's going to have problems in it. It's going to have challenges in it just because Chiron is there. Which house do you have Chiron in? And also, of course, I want you to know which sign you have Chiron in. And those two things are by far the most important part of the story. But now I want you to ask yourself, what is the ruler of Chiron? So if you have Chiron in Aries natally, well, then Mars is the ruler of that Chiron. So this is how you're going to think about the ruler of your Chiron. If it's Mars, Mars is both your foe and your friend. So if it's Neptune, if you have Pisces, Chiron and Pisces, well, then Neptune and Jupiter are your foes and your friends. Let's go back to Mars and Aries. Chiron and Aries, you're going to go look to where your Mars is. Now, this is how you will be wounded. This is the tale of your wounding. I also go deep into the psychological wound of Pluto. That's a different kind of wound. And if you're interested in the wounds inside your life and healing those wounds, I do highly recommend that you go watch my Pluto playlist. In addition to this, back to Chiron. So you want to look at the ruler. And when you go look at the ruler, look at the house where the ruler is at, the sign in which the ruler is at, and the aspects the ruler makes to Chiron. Is it in opposition? You have to watch my opposition video. That means it's really struggling. Is it in square to Chiron? Is it in trine, which is helpful? Or is it in sextile, which is also helpful? However, Chiron is a wound, is a wound, is a wound. So let's say you have a trine. And let's say the ruler is Venus. So you have Chiron in Libra and your Venus is trine to Chiron in Libra. Your Venus is in Aquarius. Well, that doesn't mean yippee yahoo and you get through this lifetime without a wound. That could mean the wrong person loved you. A parent loved you the wrong way, or you were loved too much. The wrong kind of love was too accessible at too early of an age. And that's still a wound and still a problem, right? So I just want you to know that trines don't mean that you're not going to experience a wound to heal. You will. I want you to really look at the ruler's aspect of Chiron because that is going to tell you if healing this wound will be simple or if healing this wound will also be hard and if you will be held to big challenges. And also it's going to tell you the story when you blend these energies and synthesize them. I also want to tell you that there's another little bonus tip here with your Chiron. I use the Placidus house system. I am a modern evolutionary astrologer. I am so shocked at how many people write to me and say, "Are you a Vedic astrologer?" I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they don't watch my videos very deeply, do they? No, I'm not. I am a Western modern evolutionary astrologer. I use the Placidus house system. I do not use whole signs. So people ask me why I don't use whole signs because I believe the chart is more complicated than whole signs. Do you really think the constellations were just chopped up in perfect, precise 30-degree aspects through your whole signs? I don't believe so. And so I believe in the watercolor of the houses. And sometimes in Placidus, you can have even 3 signs in one house. And I believe the psyche and the soul are very, very complex. So what I want to tell you is whatever house you have Chiron in, let's say you have it in Libra, but the cusp of the house in which Chiron sits in is Virgo, the sign before Libra. I want you to look at Mercury. I know that sounds crazy, but Mercury is the ruler of the house in which Chiron sits in. I'll say that again. Let's say you've got Chiron in Libra, but Virgo is on the cusp of that house, the doorway. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go watch my video on house cusps and signs that are intercepted. Please watch those videos and watch my whole playlist on Learn Astrology. I have like 47 videos on Learn Astrology. Come learn with me. It's so important. So if the cusp is Virgo, the ruling planet to Virgo is Mercury. I need you to go look at Mercury. Is Mercury making a hard aspect to your Chiron or an easy aspect? Mercury is also going to tell you a part of the story. because Mercury is the boss of that landscape, of that house. Okay. All right. So let's dive in. That's how I want you to think of it. But right now, where do you have 19 degrees Aries? And do you have Chiron in Aries? I want to know. I'm not going to go into the mythology of Chiron. I'm going to let you do that yourself. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, you can click on my link tree. And in my link tree, I have an Amazon store that says buy these astrology tools. That you're not buying them from me, you're buying them from Amazon, but I tell you which ones to buy. And I have a couple Chiron resources in that link for you to go and buy if you're really interested in Chiron. Let's talk about the pain. Chiron brings a great deal of pain and suffering and agony. I like to think of it as character building. I know everybody's tired of me saying that, but it is where you feel vulnerable. You could feel shamed, stifled, unseen, not valued. You can feel fearful, but saying all that, this is the deepest place in your soul that you have the greatest potential to heal your life, to grow your soul, to evolve, and to create transformation through forgiveness. So the placement of Chiron is really important to understand what kind of wound you're experiencing in this lifetime and where the wounds in your life are felt the most profoundly. Chiron's aspect to those other planets in your natal chart are going to show how you work with that wound and how you also project that wound out there into the world and how you seek or want or wish to heal yourself. I also want to tell you that the sign that Chiron is in is going to show us how you actually express your wound, how you talk about your wound, how you reveal your wound, how you show your wound, how you share your wound, how you carry your wound. And it will show us your wound's qualities and lessons and challenges. Now, if you have Chiron in Aries or Chiron in any sign and it is on an angle, let me tell you, this creates such profundity. This tells me that your wound is actually quite critical, and your wound could even possibly be life and death, could be very, very severe. If it's on the first house, it's about yourself, your physicality, who you are. If it's on the descendant, the angle of the descendant, it could be about your relationships wounding you. If it's on the angle at the IC at the bottom of the chart, that means it could be a family wound that you inherited or that you created. And if it's at the MC at the top, you could become a healer, but your wound could be quite visible and it could be around your calling, your legacy, who am I truly in the world. If you do have your Chiron on your angles, do let me know. And also for the angles, I don't quite take a 10-degree orb. If it's within 10 degrees, it's pretty tender, but I would say a little bit more like within 6 degrees. If it was 7, would I give it to you? Sure. But the closer it is to the angle, the more prominent and poignant it is. I will also say people who have Chiron rising either in the 12th house or in the first house and within 6 degrees of that ascendant, I'll take it to 10, but the tighter, the more so. I would say that you are profound healers and empaths. And I would also say that if you have your Chiron on the MC within 6 degrees, either in the 9th house or the 10th house. Hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. You need to integrate the lessons that you learned from the wounds that you have experienced into the healing process in order to become compassionate. So before you can become a healer, a mentor, a guru, a wise one, a guide, a nurturer, and nurse people back into health and wellness, you have to go through a transformative process where you integrated what you learned from Chiron and you learned how to heal it enough to truly be a vessel of forgiveness. Forgiveness is the key to healing your life and helping others heal theirs. So let's talk about Chiron in Aries, and listen to this by transit and then listen to this if you have it natally. What can we expect with Chiron in Aries? And maybe first of all, I should tell you the dates of Chiron and Aries because it's going to be here a long time. And I think Chiron has something like 6 to 9. I can't recall how many, but it was so many retrogrades. I was just like, ay, 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 in Aries. So this particular cycle of Chiron and Aries has a lot of retrogrades. So I wrote it down here for you because I didn't want to mess up. So Chiron entered Aries on April 17th, 2018. So I want to know what was going on around April 2018. Really, really important. But it retrograded that September 25th, 2018. So it was only there April through September. And then it retrograded into Pisces until February 18th, 2019. What happened? What happened then? Because it went back into Aries February 18th, 2019. And it will stay there until it moves forward into Taurus now on June 19th, 2026. So we might feel a shift June 19th, 2026. But it's going to retrograde into Aries one last time on September 17th, 2026. And it's going to stay there until April 14th, 2027. And I highly recommend you write those in and out dates down because you'll feel jolted. You'll feel the shifts. And what I was going to say is, what can we expect? What's important about, Chiron and Aries? And I think it's about not ignoring our pain, not turning a blind side, not stifling or stuffing down where we feel oppressed and suppressed. And I don't mean to be a loud, angry person and to be, kind of a jerk out there on the front lines in life. How can you personally take action and confront the genuine conflict in your life in some positive and productive way? That doesn't even need to be an announcement. That doesn't mean that you have to go pick up the line. That doesn't mean that you have to get aggressive. But what can you do about it, right? So you'll be in less pain later. So let's talk about people who have Chiron in Aries. I think these people are trying to actually heal a wound that surrounds the question of who am I? It surrounds my identity if I have this placement. Also, finding my own true path in life, what trail I authentically want to blaze, not doing what you tell me to do, not just being an obedient follower, but finding a courage inside of me to be myself in an unbridled, unfettered way. Sometimes people with Chiron in Aries in their early environment, they grew up in severe hostility, microaggressions, passive aggression, passive aggressiveness, and just flat out dominant aggression. Their homes might have had a deep feeling of, it is not safe for me here. Having to sleep with one eye open, feeling insecure to let their guard down. Sometimes people with this placement will struggle until they develop a will, a fortitude, a strength, a bravery, and a courage about themselves. They have to develop a will and a willpower in this lifetime. Is this you? Were you born between 1968 and 1977? So when these people are healed, and I also want you to think about, this is what we're going through collectively too. So when these people are healed, they can become extraordinary pioneers. They can be pioneering forces in their field. These people can also feel an absolutely incredible pain. And I almost think that they receive more pain in life because people think they're so strong. It's almost like somebody who is being hurt, whipped because the person has such a strong will and they don't cry and crumble and fall apart. They get the second lashing and the third and the fourth because there is a bravado or a true strength or a true steely will or bravery. I remember when I saw that scene in one of the early seasons of Outlander. Oh my God, it was so gruesome. It was so gruesome, but it reminds me of that warrior soul. Let me tell you how deep this can really, really go. These people can withstand so much pain or may have had to withstand so much pain. And their insides and their outside can look really different. So they can look really macho strong, really incredibly tough. And on the inside, they're just so tenderhearted. That gap can be quite confusing for other people who are involved with them. But sometimes they feel such a depth of pain that they wish they did not even exist to receive another day of it. And that usually happens in their early life, which is sad, breaks my heart. If they can push through it, what they really need to wish for. So if this is your child, really think about this. And you might not be the source of their pain. They might have the source of their pain come from, I don't know, somebody at school or somebody outside of you. There is a depth of suffering with this placement that is, it just breaks my heart. I want you to think of like the strong bull, right? Who is then slaughtered at the end. It's just god awful, 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 awful. I think I haven't done a Chiron series or Chiron videos because when I did my Pluto series, it about killed me. And I don't know if I can merge with this much pain succinctly through 12 signs because it's a lot. But I wanted to at least do Aries because we have that placement right now. But let's talk about healing this pain rather than succumbing to it. There is such a huge need to break free, right? Break free from the person who is trying to dominate you, snuff you out, belittle you, put you down, lash you. That person, break free from that person. Stand in your own independence. Now, this doesn't even need to mean that you need to do eye for an eye. This just means you need to walk away. That's it. These people, and collectively at this time, we need to break free from the things that want to hold us back, whatever those things are in your life and whatever you believe them to be. I'm not here to tell you what they are, but I have different things than you have. So where do you need to gain personal power? Who do you need to leave who's trying to take your personal power away from you? And I love all your shares. I want you guys to know I read almost every comment. I spend so much time down deep in the rabbit hole of comments and I love them. And when you share, even if I don't comment on your comment, you sharing to this beautiful community helps people grow so much. Other people are reading your comments and they are gleaning so much information and such a depth of understanding about these different aspects when you leave a comment. I want to tell you that I try to answer my super supporters and my superstar super supporters comments. I work really, really hard on that. I spend hours upon hours upon hours doing that. And if I haven't answered yours, I am so sorry. I can't tell you. There's just so many. If you are a super supporter or a superstar super supporter, I do try my darndest to answer your questions and I prioritize those people in my comments. So I want to say thank you to my members. And if you want to join, it's only $2.99 a month and you get all my behind the scenes videos and all kinds of perks. Go check it out. I'd love to have you. People with this placement and at this time where we have Chiron, and you're going to see this in the world today, until Chiron moves into Taurus. Pay attention to where it's transiting in your chart because this is where you have a quick response, trigger response to anger. And this is where you're a little bit paranoid that people are trying to take your power away from you. So are you having this by transit in the first house? Are you having this by transit in the 10th house? What do you need to do to gain your personal power back? And you can also feel wherever this is transiting in your chart. And if you have this natally, you could have felt for the beginning part of your life before you healed these wounds that you were quick to trigger, probably because somebody was quick to trigger with you. You might also see sometimes you're a little bit bullish because somebody did that to you. You might see that you get too angry, too quick, too fast. You lose your control. You cut things off. You fly off the handle. You sever people out of your life too quick, too fast. And then you regret it because you didn't have a softer, sweeter, kinder, more thoughtful, empathetic, compassionate approach. And you might be really, really destructive in your reactions to other people until you heal. And when you heal, you will become so powerful. But if you're hot-tempered and hot-headed and you have Chiron in Aries, it might be because you learned that behavior from someone, somewhere who hurt you, right? Who taught you that kind of pain and reaction. And it's because your self-worth, your independence, your strength, your courage was challenged. You felt really out of control for a first good portion of your life. You're wanting to cultivate some level of power in your life. So you might do that in a way that overcompensates and is too harsh, too aggressive, too strong, too much ignition, too much lighter fluid. Think about that and be honest with yourself about that. Have you been too harsh, too mean, and too cruel? And also, did you learn that from someone else? And also, this can flip the other way, where you're not just this willful, angry adolescent for the rest of your life, but you had to be completely subservient to a dominant force in your life, kind of like the wounded dog that now is frightened of everything and has no will to assert whatsoever. That's also extraordinarily sad. So if you have natally Chiron and Aries, I want to hear your story, and I want, if you would share with us, please do, because I think people could really benefit from this. Did you have to be completely subservient and you got the will kicked out of you? Or did you have to be a tough guy to protect yourself and to protect others and your family? They're real things. Your force, your will, your courage, your strength, your bravery, your power got thwarted in some way. It got twisted and massively confused and maybe used the wrong way and maybe thrown away, or maybe all of the things, right? So I would love to know, but there is a little bit of a crisis with power. Now, wherever you have this by transit, you're being asked to really stand in your power in a way that benefits your life. I'll also tell you that if you have this natally, you have a deep, deep, deep ability to empower other people. And you probably have experienced of what it feels like to live in fear, not being powerful enough. So there is a big part of you that is being asked to search for your authentic self and find the spark within you to become a pioneer in your own life in some way, shape, or form. This is a time to really manage your aggression and to learn how to not be too aggressive or too passive aggressive, and not be too dominant, but not be too subservient, but find that sweet spot where the energy and the will and the strength and the power flow through you magically, where you are a force and you are strong and you are filled with grace, right? Where I mean what I say, but I say it with love, like that, like just that perfect balance. So wherever this is in your chart, you're being asked to do that in that arena in your life. I would also say another way to heal right now is to not become too destructive, too quick, too fast to cut and run. Aries likes to cut and run. They just like to slice you and dice you, I mean, they do. When they're finished with you, done. They're Mars. They are the knife. They cut you out. Do not become too destructive. Do not cut things out and cut things off without reflection, without thought. Do not be destructive to yourself or to others. Like really sit with it and think. But this is the time in your life, wherever this is by transit, but if you have this natally, and this is your Chiron return, where you are growing, nurturing, finding, searching, seeing, or it is being revealed to you, your authentic zest for life that flows and moves through your spirit. What is that? What is that? To heal your soul, you must realize you are magnetic. You are attracting to you powerful, great things. You are powerful. You have a strong will. You are incredible. Aries is incredible. When it is the best it can be, there's nothing better, right? They make things happen. They get things done. Stay in your steady confidence. Don't just be confident today. Be confident tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And I want you to push back the feelings that you're lacking something. You're not lacking anything. It's growing. Do the tomatoes grow in a night? No, they don't. Do you learn astrology in a day? No, you don't. You know, I have to tell you, the comments are really interesting. And the more people we get here, the more interesting this journey gets for me. But somebody once told me, oh, this is just such garbage. I can't believe all this. They told me they were learning astrology for a day. I was like, ay, ay, ay. You know, I went to night school and I learned astrology at night 3 times a week for 8 years before I became a professional astrologer. There is so much to know. It is infinite. It is truly, truly infinite. And Chiron is really, really important, but it's deep. And if you're just starting here with me, I recommend you go watch my beginning videos, right? Go watch my how to read a natal chart. Don't just start with Chiron. It is so deep. It's the hard part. It's the hard part. Chiron is the hard part. And so you, my friend, if you are having a Chiron return, this is a time to be gentle with yourself, but firm and strong. I also want to say that, well, I'm going to give you a couple more ideas, but this is a great time to really heal your soul. And I want you to know that you are co-creating your life with your astrology chart, with the universe, with your God, whatever that means to you, with source. And I want you to know that the astrology chart is not doing you. You are choosing to do and express your chart. So let's keep going. Right now, Chiron in Aries is going to awaken the part of ourselves that we want to push forward. What new trails do we want to blaze? We are the maverick. Where do we want to go? So it is going to bring up our pioneering spirit. And if you have this placement natally, that is how you start to heal. You're going to right now be able to come up with new ideas and see new things or see old things in a new way. And you're going to be able to dig down deep inside of you and pull up what you thought was once impossible and put it on the table. And it's actually doable. Yes, it is doable. You can do it. You just need one thing, 2 things, courage and will. Courage and will. Say it with me. Courage and will. That's all you need. That's all Aries needs. Aries doesn't even need food, shelter, water, bread. Nope. They just need the courage and the will. That's it. They can survive on nothing else. It's amazing. They have a lot of fortitude that way. I read this and I thought this was interesting and I wanted to share it with you. And the last time we saw Chiron in Aries, I guess that is when both Microsoft and Apple were discovered. And computers were just like, whoa, it was the new invention, right? I remember when I got my first Mac, I was like, oh my gosh, I worked at Scholastic Publishing in New York City in the Village on Broadway. Woo, anybody know it? Right? I managed Clifford, the big red dog. Yes, it's true. And I got an Apple computer and I turned it on and it smiled at me. Ding. It was so cute. And it looked like a little box. The keyboard was really loud and funky. But that is the last time that we saw Chiron in Aries, 1968 to 77. I didn't get my computer, my Apple, until 1990. So I was a couple generations away. But I do think that that is when the inventions were being made and launched, right? And computers weren't totally accessible to just everybody yet. But we were thinking outside of the box. We were creating new music. Think about the music of that time. Think of how we were taking on and challenging the world. Okay, so I just wanted you guys to think about these pioneering events that happened the last time Aries was in Chiron, because we're back there again. If you have this aspect in your natal chart, you have this kind of power in your life, the power to change, the power to advance society, the power to advance yourself. But it comes through that wound of somebody having told you no, right? Or you're not enough, or confused you around who you actually were. So we had Neil Armstrong walked on the moon in 1969. So this is between 68 and 77. Earth Day was created and celebrated for the very first time. The Watergate scandal began in 72. The Yom Kippur War takes place between Israel and a coalition of Arab countries, leading to an oil crisis and international tensions in 1973. I remember when I was that age, I was really, really little, But we could only get gas here in the United States based on the last numbers. And we could only go get gas like every other day. And there was this gas crisis, and then we had to wait in line. It was just crazy. And then in 74, President Richard Nixon resigned from office. And then in 75, the fall of Saigon, the Vietnam War ends. 76, Apple is founded by Steve Jobs and Wozniak and Ronald Wayne, making the way for the personal computer revolution, right? And then in 77, Voyager 1 and 2 spacecrafts are launched, which became the first man-made objects to leave our solar system. And I apologize for the American-centric history lesson. I am American. I don't know other histories. So just roll with me. Take them as examples, but know that I do have global desires. And I want to say that this kind of pioneering spirit is in us right now. And here we are with AI, and we're being very real about talking about aliens. Well, at least some of us are, right? Not all of us, but some of us are having like real conversations about, true alien. And I predicted this like 2 years ago. I was like, you guys, the aliens are coming. And when Pluto goes into Aquarius, we are going to see, right, that there is proof of life. I believe we're going to prove it. Proof of life outside of Earth. But I just want you to know that you have that large of a power inside of you. So you've got that same kind of energy inside of you around being the first man to walk on the moon. So I want to ask you, where is your moon that you're going to walk on, right? Your pioneering spirit, where is it taking you? It makes sense that Chiron in Aries awakens this greatness inside of us, this trailblazing, maverick, independent, authentic drive for something that is truly personal to us, and putting that in the world, and to see the world in a whole new way, and to make possible that which we believe was once impossible in our lives. So I'm asking you, where do you have the 19 degrees Aries? Because that's where it is right now. And it's in retrograde. So it's going to go to 18 and 17 and 16. And just look at all of Aries in your chart, because that's where this dance is happening for 4 years. This is really, really, really huge. I want you to try on something new. So the first thing you do is search for who you are. Who are you right now? And natally, you've been asking this question your whole life, but right now, you are an individual that is different than anybody else. And I want to know, who are you and what are you doing about it, right? So take steps around finding your new identity, your new chapter in life. If you were once a nurse, and then you were, a banker, and then you were a stay-at-home mom, and now you're what, right? So you're reinventing yourself a bit right now in a new, powerful way. And how are you different? How are you original? How are you individualized? Where are you autonomously, uniquely, individually you? I want to know. You might go through a little bit of an identity crisis since Chiron has been in Aries. And that's April 2018 through April 2027. So that's a long time. So at this time, you might be reinventing, honestly, and it might not even be a reinvention. It might be authentically finding the new you. The new you. What were you, and what do you want to become, and what are you now? Those are the great questions to ask yourself. One of the ways in which you heal this particular wound is you search for your own individual identity, and then you take action to become that very thing that you identify with. So we might collectively, and I think we are since 2018, going through an identity crisis. Who are we, and what do we want to be, and what do we value, and what is true and what isn't? When I ask what is true, what I'm saying is what is authentic. What is a real avocado? And what is a fake avocado? We are going to be going through an identity crisis. And wherever you have this in your chart, you're having a bit of an identity crisis. You're having a bit of, is this who I really want to be? So if it's in the 4th house, it can be around your family. Am I really being who I want to be to my family? If it's in your 5th house, it can be, am I being the kind of parent I want to be? If it's in the 7th house, am I being the kind of lover I want to be? If it's in the 1st house, am I being who I want to be? If it's the 11th house, are my friends what I really want? Are these the kinds of people I want to have friends with? Am I being the kind of friend I want to be? Don't just blindly follow the group right now. This is a time when you need to find out and cultivate what your truth is and break away from your old patterns, your old identities, your old way of life, your old situations that are stale, stagnant, and boring, or cultivate them in a new way. You don't have to throw everybody out. You could get honest, you could get more authentic, and you could reinvent or re-nourish. You could nourish them back to life. We're going to learn about ourselves right now and who we truly are deep down in here, in our core self. You also might find your authentic self through the art of your relationships. So through your connections to other people. Sometimes it's hard to figure out who you are by also not learning who you're not. And sometimes you learn who you are not by who you're hanging out with, right? So our relationships are a very big part of this because Libra is the polar axis, right? The opposite to Aries. And so it has to do with self and others. We will be tempted to focus on ourselves, our mission, our drive. However, in our quest for healing, we do have to take into consideration the Libra part of the story because that is the polar opposite sign to Aries. That's the polarity. And we must sort of allow our ego in a way to let other people in, to teach us, to soften us, to love us, to nurture us, to encourage us, to empower us, to inspire us, right? It's hard to be all of that for ourselves sometime. So in a way, I hope this video is doing just that for you right now. I hope that you turned on this video to sort of reach out to another person, to learn, to nurture self, to grow, right? Another step in healing the Aries wound, if you will, is to get humble, to truly stand in the humility of life and not have to be first, not have to be the best, not have to be right. I'll say it this way, and I'll say it just real simply, to become coachable. I'll say it again for those who have a lot of Aries in their chart and Chiron in Aries. To become coachable, allow somebody to give you a piece of advice. Allow somebody to coach you. Allow somebody to say, I think we could do it a better way, right? So there's humility in that too, where it's not just your way or the highway and I cut and I lose it. It's that you are also coachable. You're willing to see things from a little bit of a different perspective right now. That's how you heal Aries. You allow other people in. Also accepting your flaws, your faults, and your wounds without beating yourself up. When you get out of your self-absorption, it's hard to because you're used to shoring it alone. You're used to doing it all. You're used to being the maverick leader in your life. And you do things without even thinking. You just have passion and opinions and blaze your trail. But we have to right now really take a look at how are we selfish? How are we not coachable? How do we not really show up for other people and start to embrace those things? You will heal a lot of your wounds inside relationship to others, giving to others, loving others, nurturing others, listening to others, empowering others, to not just become so isolated and so alone with no friends, no lovers, nothing, because you can't do relationships. Right? You can't compromise, if you will. So this is a really good time to help those in need. Become an important leader in your community to improve a community project or to stand in the desire of making changes, making social changes, sitting on a community that will help improve systems or structures or policies, or just helping a friend in need, or maybe even taking your home, your property, your life to the next level in some way that also benefits the world or benefits other people. When you put other people before yourself, that is actually when you will heal yourself because you will stand in your greatest power. When you loan yourself lovingly to others in need and you are a leader in that, that is when Aries in Chiron heals its wound. The next thing I want to say is find your warrior, find your bravery, find your brave heart, because Pat Benatar, life is a battlefield, right? You're going to need your willpower, your strength, and your courage right now to take on your personal battles and also to help others move through, flow, and heal their pains, their wounds, and their suffering too. Be courageous and be brave. Do not participate in energy, in words, in language, in actions that hurt or are harmful or destructive or that just completely obliterate others. Find the nuances. I also kind of want to say this is a little bit of a different kind of courage. This is a courage around, be fearless around vulnerability. Share yourself with someone. It takes a lot of courage to look at your inner pain. And when you are vulnerable with it, when you reveal it and you don't just stand there with stoicism and take it, right? But you show the pain, that is oftentimes when the pain will stop. Okay, so right now, collectively, we can feel like nothing is going right. We can feel really discouraged around everything's a shit show, nothing's going right. No, the operating procedures are not good. We have a tendency to not accept responsibility. And I don't know, we'll blame anything but ourselves. Absolutely anything, feeling like, hey, this isn't my fault. I didn't do this. I didn't see that I got a parking ticket and the mail was just brought in to my office or it was thrown out. I didn't see the bill. I didn't know I had to pay it. I didn't know. I didn't, right? And we get agitated and irritated and we feel like nothing's my fault. It's not my fault. Don't blame me. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And when you live like that, there's such an edge that, again, you're uncoachable. So what I want to say is just take the responsibility of, okay, I didn't pay the parking ticket. I will. And look at it from a different perspective because everything really isn't going wrong. And when you take responsibility for the things that you can actually control, and for when you have maybe hurt someone or you sabotaged your own self and you own up to it, oh my gosh, you can forget about it, move on and do something about it and create something great. The other thing I want to say is forgiveness. You have to remember that this Chiron in Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is pissed off. It is intense. It is mad, and it is overwhelmed, frustrated, irritable, irritated, and it oftentimes does not even like people. So the next thing I want to say is to put forgiveness in your heart. People are doing the best with what they got. If you're with somebody whose values or ideas are just wackadoo, they're working with the information that they have. Just love them and move on. They don't have to sit at your dining room table. Just stand in the forgiveness of that's what they learned. That's who they're going to be. That's who they're choosing to be. I don't necessarily want to be it. I'm going to do my best in this moment. I will be a kind, nice person because they probably don't have that many people that are saying that to them. And you sprinkle a little love and you move on. And you're going to see out there in the world a lot of injustices happening. And they're going to be just so irritating. Absolutely so irritating. Try to find the ability, if it's not forgiveness, it's just sort of a letting go and letting God do your thing to make your world, your community better, to create justice in the world, to create fairness, return the wallet with money in it, and know that you were doing what you could do. You did the best you could do, so you can put your head on the pillow tonight and feel proud of yourself. But it comes with a little bit of learning to let go and to forgive. Now, I'm not saying sit back and do nothing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying do your very best and then you let go. You show up to the meeting and then you let go. Do not live in the anger of that Mars. Mars is so angry. Figure out a way to truly let go of the anger. I don't know what you need to do. Maybe yoga, maybe shavasana. I don't even know how to explain it, but rise above the noise. Let people have all this noisy, and you don't have to be a part of it. You can just be an observer. And when you can train yourself, so I take yoga and I'm in shavasana, and that's where you lay flat, right? It's like corpse pose. You lay flat and you're not supposed to talk in the yoga room, but oftentimes there's two busy bees and they're like, and where'd you get your eyelashes done? And oh my gosh, did you see the new Potbelly restaurant? Talking literally about nothing in my meditation. Well, my Mars is irritated. It's agitated. It's like, would you shut up? I'm trying to meditate, right? So this is what I want you to practice. And I'm going to take it on too. Let them talk. Let them talk. Let them have their 5 minutes of joy, even if it feels like nonsense to you. They're connecting. And you just see that as the blabber is just love. So I'm going to train my mind to forgive right now because I'm irritated. That's just their expression of love, joy, glee, and happiness. And so I'm going to let their love, I'm not going to listen to their words. I'm just going to listen to their banter, and I am going to know that love surrounds me, right? And I'm going to transform the irritation, aggravation, anger. This is my 5 minutes, right, of meditation. I wanted to open up my third eye and travel. I can still do that. They're not taking it away from me. I just have to see their conversation as love. And then I sort of forgive it and let go, right? And then I roll up my mat and I smile, have a nice day, and I leave. But I could have sat there and ruined my 5 frickin' minutes by living in the anger, the irritation, and the frustration of their babble about nothing. Don't let yourself get frustrated. Let go of the anger. I'm going to try too. I'm going to try real hard because I have this on an angle in a very prominent place in my chart. So I'm going to try my best too. I hope you guys like this video and let me know if you want more Chiron. And I hope you're wonderful. Wherever you are at in the world, here in Seattle, I'm wishing you the very, very best. Take care.